No.
Can you believe it's less than 6 weeks until the first votes are cast? Did the Republican race just get a lot tighter? This is CNN Tonight. I'm Don Lemon. Trump still tops the GOP field, but one new national poll has Ted Cruz only 4 points behind him and making a confident prediction.
I think it could easily end up being a two-man race between Donald Trump. And I think that presents a good choice to the American people.
And Hillary Clinton, campaigning in Iowa, says America should stand up to bullies wherever they are. I wonder who she could be talking about. Maybe Donald Trump? A lot to get to this hour ahead. It's going to be good. I promise you. I'm joined now by Ron Nehring, California chairman for Senator Ted Cruz. He should be happy right now. Democratic strategist Maria Cardona and Bob Cusack, editor-in-chief of The Hill. What a great group we've assembled here. Ron, to the happy man, at least you should be. Ted Cruz now 4 points behind Donald Trump in a new national poll just out today. That is within the margin of error and an 8-point jump for your candidate. Since November 2nd, you're a Cruz guy, so go ahead and tell me how happy you are about this.
Well, we're very encouraged by this, of course. It shows that Senator Cruz has a great deal of momentum as we go into the final weeks before Iowans will head to the polls on February 1st. But we're not taking it for granted. Senator Cruz today is flying around all of the various states that are going to vote in March 1st, recognizing that this is a long ball game, that this is not only the election outcome's not going to be determined just by who's ahead in a national poll, but this is a state-by-state process, 56 different elections, states and territories voting over a 19-week period, and that's the type of campaign that Senator Cruz has constructed to win that contest.
Yeah, and it is early on still, but, you know, Bob, to you, the same Quinnipiac poll found that 58% of Republicans, 58%, said they still might change their minds. Do you think that gives some sort of hope to the other candidates who aren't doing so well in the polls to stick it out maybe a little bit longer?
No, I do. I think that the candidates who are in the single digits, and that is also Jeb Bush and John Kasich, Chris Christie, who's doing better in New Hampshire, it does give them hope because the stats show that whether you're in Iowa and New Hampshire, a lot of those voters change their mind, make up their mind at the last second. But however, I mean, you do have to look at the polls, Don, and certainly Cruz is surging, but Donald Trump has been winning for 4 months, so he's got to be feeling pretty good where he is right now.
Okay, so Maria, let's talk more about Donald Trump. He said some things that really raised some eyebrows last night. People called them vulgar
No way.
about Hillary Clinton, but to be fair, the crowd cheered. Here's what he tweeted tonight. He said, once again, hashtag MSM or mainstream media is dishonest. Schlonged is not vulgar. When I said Hillary Clinton got schlonged, that meant beaten badly. So the question is that what schlonged means?
You know, whenever he tries to excuse one of his atrocities that he has said with blaming it on the media and telling that you guys are the ones who are reporting it wrong, I remember one of my icons, Judge Judy, who used to always say, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. We all know what that meant. Every woman who heard that knows what that meant. And that is where I think that Donald Trump, whether he's the Republican nominee or not, and I think he has a very, very good possibility that he will be that nominee, or whoever it is in the Republican Party is going to find out that you can't insult the majority of voters in this country, which are represented by women, and get away with it.
Okay, Maria, let me just say this. And I'm just playing devil's advocate, everyone, okay? So calm down. What if he just used the wrong word and he meant shellacked or something like that, but schlonged came out? That's not a possibility to you?
Well, then he should say that if that's the case. But that's not what he said.
All right, guys, you heard what Maria said. The two guys next to you are both shaking their heads, you know. So, Ron, do you think he meant that? When she said, do you think he's probably going to be the nominee, you said no way. But do you think that every woman in the country heard and was offended by that?
Well, what I know is that you're not going to hear language like that come from Senator Cruz, and I think that that's important. I think that Republicans right now are looking for not only who's going to be the leader of our party, but who's going to be the leader of the United States of America and the free world. And it's in that area that Senator Cruz continues to excel. I think that's part of the reason why, as voters think about who do I want to be in the White House at a time of a crisis, as well as negotiating with trading partners and on foreign policy and military matters around the world, who do I want to be in that seat? I think that every day Senator Cruz proves that he's that person, and other candidates prove they're not that person.
Okay, I'm going to talk more about Cruz. Let's do it in order, though, because I want to play Hillary Clinton. We'll talk more about Cruz and not commenting and whether that's his strategy, sort of similar to what you said, Ron. But, Bob, before we go on, do you want to comment on this, or will you take a pass? Are you good?
I'll take a pass.
Okay, good. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the GOP 2012, the autopsy report, its goal to be more inclusive to minorities, if you can just weigh in this, Bob, and to women.
Yeah.
How is that working out?
Well, it's amazing when you look back at the 2012 report, just looking back at it tonight, you forget that that report called for comprehensive immigration reform, and it hit Mitt Romney because he went too far right. And did not appeal to women, enough women, and to Hispanics. And when you look at where the party is now, and we are in the primary, so you're appealing to the base, I think it's a big problem for the Republican Party because if you look at the Democrats, they're very confident they're going to win the general election because they're starting at, unless something bizarre happens, really 242 electoral votes, maybe 247 if you count New Mexico, because they have dominated, have attracted so many Hispanic voters over the last couple elections. So I think that's one of the things Republicans have to worry about. Now, the one thing about Mitt Romney is he didn't move back to the middle. He went far right on immigration reform, did not move back to the middle. I think it's going to be a challenge for the GOP to attract Hispanic voters after this primary. Doesn't mean it's impossible.
But couldn't you say that
difficult.
Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz's guy's here, Ron is here, couldn't you say Ted Cruz is far right when it comes to immigration? He's not in the middle. Certainly he says he doesn't believe in a legal path.
Yes, he is far right.
Ron, do you think he's far right?
Well, there were so many points I was just throwing out. Let me just respond to one thing.
Go ahead,
and
go
that is
ahead.
that
Take
the
your
conventional
time.
wisdom in this election cycle has consistently been proven wrong. The kind of poli-sci 101 view of the world has consistently been disproven. For example, it doesn't explain how a Susana Martinez becomes the governor of New Mexico, how Chris Christie becomes the governor of New Jersey, how Kevin Faulconer, a Republican, becomes the mayor of this city of San Diego. Democrats outnumbered Republicans heavily in all of these areas, and yet the Republican candidates won, and the conventional wisdom couldn't explain it. But in every one of those cases, what we see is what makes a candidate strong is not only their philosophy, but it's also their narrative, their story, their record, and also their skill, both on the stump as a candidate and in constructing an effective campaign. And in all three of those areas, we see Senator Cruz excelling, and that's part of the reason why he has the momentum that he has now.
And conventional wisdom, though, has been wrong about the front runner time and time again, Donald Trump as well, because some of you who are on here now didn't think he would still be here, and I said, don't underestimate him. So listen, Ron, let's move on and continue talking about Hillary Clinton and then your candidate strategy. Hillary Clinton was asked today about by a fifth grader, Hannah Tandy, about what she would do about bullying. Here's part of her answer. Listen.
We need more love and kindness in our country. I think we are not treating each other with the respect and the and the care that we should show toward each other. And that's why it's important to stand up to bullies wherever they are, and why we shouldn't let anybody bully his way into the presidency. Because that is not who we are as Americans.
So Hillary is calling Trump a bully. Jeb Bush has called Trump a bully. What do you think?
Well, I think that what you see here is a very sloppy example of pivoting on the part of Hillary Clinton. You know, if the issue is bullying in schools, the answer to that is to make sure that parents have the right to send their kids to a different school. If they're not satisfied with the quality of education, if they believe that there's bullying or a lack of discipline in that school, let's actually do something about it and give parents a choice to send their kids to a different school. Instead, Hillary Clinton wants to take this young child's question about bullying and make it into a political issue, which is just bizarre and just weird on her part. You know, Hillary Clinton comes from the party and will likely be the nominee.
But what
of the
about
party,
the treating?
doesn't think.
What about the treating other people with respect part? And in other parts of her answer, she did talk about those things. But what about the treating people with respect part?
So can I jump in here, Don? Because
let him finish, and then you
Okay.
certainly can, Maria. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay.
Well, I can't wait to see what Hillary Clinton says to all the union officials who will wind up, supporting her candidacy. Will she give all of them the lecture about treating everyone with kindness and so on and so forth? I've run into a couple of union officials who are very involved in politics in this state, and these are not exactly people who have been quite skilled in the art of etiquette. So it'll be very interesting to see if this applies in an even-handed manner or just toward Republicans.
Go ahead, Maria. quickly if you can, because I want to get to some other stuff.
Sure.
but
I
what do you
actually think it was a deft answer, because guess what? What our leaders talk about and the way that they handle the national discourse in this country is very important. Our young people are listening to our leaders. And that's why I think the GOP really is in big trouble by having the front runner be so indecent in the way that he is carrying on his political discourse. We need leaders who actually value our principles, not those who devalue what we stand for.
I want to
that's
get
exactly
this.
what's happening.
I want to get this soundbite of Chris Christie in today. He refused to comment on Trump's language towards Hillary Clinton. Watch this.
Last night, Donald Trump did something like that. He said that what Clinton did during a debate bathroom break was, quote, too disgusting to talk about. And then he said she got, quote, schlonged by Barack Obama in 2008. Thoughts?
None. Not going to respond to everything that comes out of Donald's mouth.
Is it appropriate for a presidential candidate to use the word schlonged in that way?
I am not going to respond to everything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. It may fascinate all of you. It is of absolutely no interest to me. I'm running for president of the United States, Jake.
Okay, so Christie has taken this "I'm above the fray," sort of approach. Ron, you have said that you won't see Ted Cruz using that kind of language. I'm wondering if is it the campaign strategy to let Donald Trump sort of hang himself with his own words, which doesn't seem to be happening, because no matter what he says, he still climbs in the polls. What's your strategy when it comes to that?
Well, we're working real hard to change that. A couple things. First is that Senator Cruz was the first candidate to get into this race, and as every other candidate got in, he issued a press release praising that candidate, saying positive things, and he's kept positive, all throughout this process toward all of the candidates, and he's worked very hard to limit those disagreements to areas of policy rather than allowing it to be personal. That's a strategy that's working for Senator Cruz. I think it's the exact right one. And let's remember that the higher the office, the more likely the voters are going to see these candidates for who they truly are. A couple of months ago, when people didn't know who all of the 17 Republican candidates were, it was a name ID race. And so we can understand why Donald Trump, with the greatest amount of name ID, would have had such a commanding lead early on. But that's changed. It's not a name ID race anymore. It's not a name ID race in Iowa or in New Hampshire or in South Carolina or in Iowa or in the Super Tuesday states. People are getting to know who these candidates are, and as they do, Senator Cruz has gone up, and those who've attacked him recently, like Marco Rubio, have only gone down or not succeeded.
Bob, what do you think of that strategy? Button it up for us here. Is that a working strategy for the candidates? Is Ron right?
Well, it's an interesting one, because Senator Cruz has not adopted that strategy when he's talking about congressional leaders, very critical of former Speaker Boehner, basically called Majority Leader Mitch McConnell a liar. So he has adopted a different type of strategy on the campaign trail, but he's gone after members of his own party pretty hard on Capitol Hill.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Don.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks.
You
Merry
too.
Christmas.
Thank you.
Up next, Ted Cruz talks about a two-man Republican race with Donald Trump, but not everybody's happy with the GOP frontrunner.
Researchers discovered a protein that supports a healthier brain, now available in the supplement Prevagen. Prevagen has been clinically shown to improve memory. It's safe and effective for support of a healthier brain.